stars shine bright. Every soul's alive in the Bayou night.
Hey, I'm Keith Spiro from NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. My guest this week on Let's Talk is former WDSU reporter Shay O'Connor. What was your favorite time of the year to report stories?
I would say Mardi Gras because I could be myself. It was the one day of the year where I could use my accent. I could just be as crazy as I wanted to be, and no one would judge me.
Well, there you go. Tune in this week to hear all about Shay O'Connor being herself on Let's Talk.
We're local and entertaining. You're watching WLAE-TV, celebrating 40 years of New Orleans public television.
Inside New Orleans Sports with Eric Asher is underwritten by...
At Villeries Florist, we deliver the magic of flowers 7 days a week to the North Shore and South Shore in the New Orleans area. Whether it's for birthday parties, baby celebrations, Villeries provides colorful floral displays for all. With a store full of fresh-cut flowers, exotic tropical flowers, orchids, roses, and even fruit baskets, our goal is to make your vision a reality. Villeries Florist, proudly serving Louisiana since 1969.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business, 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com.
CNC Drugs is a family-owned pharmacy that's been serving Southeast Louisiana for over 50 years. Whether you need help taking care of an elderly family member, a growing child, or even a pet, CNC provides patient-centered care for your entire family. CNC Drugs, large enough to serve you, small enough to know you. Locations in Mandeville and Araby.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Over the next hour, we will cover all the home teams. Saints, LSU, Tulane, and Pelicans. Two of my favorite guests on today. Rene, Nadeau, CrescentCitySports.com. Jared, Paul, Joseph, WGNO TV Sports, doing a great job over at WGNO covering sports here in New Orleans. Guys, welcome to the show. Good to have you guys back on. Always love having you guys on the radio and TV show. Glad to have you together as a tandem today.
Great to be here.
Always, before we get started, we'd like to let guys know, the audience know a little bit about what you guys are involved in. Rene, we'll start with you first, CrescentCitySports.com. Let everybody know what's going on with you, and also what you got coming up for us.
Well, you got the draft, you got Tulane, LSU in spring practice right now, Pelicans right now heavy. You got recruiting is going to be really ratcheting up a little bit. Other than that, not much going on. But no, really, there's always, as Jared and I were talking before, there's always a lot of sports, and sports does not take a vacation, so been very blessed.
Right. Jared, again, welcome back to the program. Always good to have you. Tell us about what's going on over Channel 26.
A lot of the same things going on with Crescent City. We know we have the NFL draft coming up as well, so that'll be another key point. You know, LSU, Tulane, multiple Louisiana schools, they've already had their pro days. Now they've already got spring camp coming up. LSU starting theirs on this past Tuesday, and of course, Tulane already having theirs in full swing. A little bit of, covering all the bases with that, seeing how Lane Kiffin's era may officially begin in Baton Rouge, and obviously, we have multiple programs that cover local and prep sports. We have Friday night fastball coming up. April 10th will be the first edition, and then that will be highlighting the local schools, going out there, seeing them compete for postseason and accolades and everything of that nature. And, we have also March Madness going on, LSU women's basketball in the tournament still, and depending on how things go, we may see a few WGNO faces on the front as well.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome, no doubt about it. Guys, we'll start with the New Orleans Saints. Made a move yesterday to bring in a quarterback. Saints signed Zach Wilson to a reported one-year deal, former second overall pick in the 2021 draft by the Jets. The former BYU quarterback spent time with the Broncos and Dolphins. Rene, I'll take you first. Your thoughts on the signing of Zach Wilson, what that means for the Saints, what it means for Spencer Rattler in the long run as well.
First of all, I think it's a really good move. He was picked second overall behind Trevor Lawrence in front of Trey Lance in 2021. He went with the Jets, and he spent some time with the Broncos and the Dolphins. but he's 12-21 as a starter. I liken his situation to Sam Darnold, who was picked by the Jets, 3rd overall in 2018. He's got a 21-36 record. Up until last year, Sam Darnold had a 21-36 record going with the Vikings. He finished 14-3 with the Vikings and then 14-3 with Seattle Seahawks, winning the Super Bowl. So sometimes it's a change of venue, change of coaching, a light goes on. My point being, Zach Wilson, will he unseat Tyler Shuck? No, I doubt that. But coming with Kellen Moore, and the situation he was in with the Jets was not an ideal situation. He did spend time with Sean Payton, but Bo Nix was the quarterback there, and Miami was not an ideal situation. So coming with the Saints, he started 33 games. He can throw the ball very well. He's mobile. He can buy time. His biggest problem has been with decisions. And that's something they could probably fix. But again, he's 33. He started 33 games, 12-21, and I think he could have a good future with the Saints if they fix some of those ailments. Spencer Rattler, I would say the move does not look good for Spencer Rattler beyond this time, because if you're going to trade a quarterback, trade someone, Spencer Rattler would probably bring you a low draft pick. Right. But Zach Wilson, you just signed him. So I say if they're going to make a move there, Spencer Rattler would be the one out.
Jared, 23 TDs, 25 interceptions, passer rating of 73.1. Talk about Zach Wilson.
But I think you gave some good parallels when it came to the entire situation that revolved around Sam Darnold, where he struggled when he went to the New York Jets. Which quarterback doesn't struggle going to the New York Jets right now? But the key thing, before Sam Darnold had back-to-back 14-3 seasons, he went to the 49ers. He learned under Kyle Shanahan, learned how to really be a professional. And he talked about how impactful that was for him, and being able to take those lessons and make them experiences and turn them into wins. You don't magically just get back-to-back 14-3 seasons with 2 different organizations and become a Super Bowl champion during your first year without really having gone into, the study hall, learning how to really be a quarterback. Now we have Zach Wilson coming to New Orleans. Now he's learned under Kellen Moore, former quarterback, Scott Dozien, former quarterback, Doug Nussmeier, former quarterback, all at different positions, obviously, within the staff, but all have played the position. We saw the ability for Tyler Shuck to succeed during the back end of last year. The more that he played, the more that those quarterbacks turned coaches were able to mentor him, but not just mentally, but the physical reps during the game. And I think that will be a good thing for Zach Wilson. I'm not sure if he would even stay past the 1-year deal, but that could be a good alleyway for him to elevate his career, to launch him back into some form of significance, to want to be desirable by another organization. And I do think that it does spell the end times for Spencer Rattler. I think it definitely shows that your time is coming to an end. We also heard during the back end of the season, during the season-ending press conferences, actually, wide receiver Chris Olave saying, he thinks Spencer should get a shot somewhere else. And even for Olave, who was unprompted at the time, just came out and said it at the end of his press conference, saying he thinks Spencer Rattler should get a shot to be a quarterback somewhere else, because everyone knows Tyler Shuck's the guy now. We need to see Spencer get his own opportunity also.
Guys, it's almost a trend in the NFL, isn't it? When again, these quarterbacks that come in, they're high draft picks, they go to a bad team, they don't play well, people give up on them, and then maybe again down the line, they get a second chance at life in the NFL, and all of a sudden you look and see, well, that's the quarterback we thought they might be coming out of college. It'll be interesting to see if that's Zach Wilson's path now going forward. And again, look, we're saying this, but at the same time, no one wants to see Zach Wilson play. No. They want Tyler Shuck on the field. But again, you have to have a competent backup in case something does happen in terms of injuries.
Well, and Trevor Lawrence, really his first few years, they thought he might be a bust. And he's really starting to kind of show what he can do now. Jacksonville is taking some strides. And so it's about a maturity situation, the coaching, who's around you, and things like that. And I think Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville has a better surrounding cast with him. And I think Zach Wilson will also be in a good situation as far as what he's surrounded by when the opportunity presents itself. But to have someone with 33 starts standing behind Tyler Shuck, I think is going to make him feel a little more comfortable. And that's a guy who can be a valuable asset.
Right. I also think we're seeing a reshaping of what you need to do to get a quarterback ready for the NFL. We got spoiled. We saw Tom Brady go in there, have immediate impact. Peyton Manning go in there, immediate impact. Andrew Luck, RG3, seeing these quarterbacks go in there, have immediate success. Russell Wilson winning a Super Bowl his second year in the NFL as a starter especially. We didn't remember that a lot of times quarterbacks need to be set. for a few years to learn the game. Aaron Rodgers, Hall of Famer, one of the best quarterbacks we've seen and one of the best quarterbacks of all time, not just talent-wise, but just with his ability to control the game, to be able to make decisions, to be a great thrower, a great orchestrator of offense. Aaron Rodgers sat 3 years as well.
Yes.
Mahomes sat a couple of years. So I think what this is a new rendition of QBs needing to take time to really learn how to be a quarterback at the professional level, because obviously something has happened during the collegiate level where they're not learning it the way they used to.
Right, and well, let's face it, the NFL's going more to what the colleges are doing in terms of, again, how the quarterback style of play is, right? We've seen that change from, again, the pro-style quarterback in the NFL. And, of course, again, for a long time, you never have started a rookie quarterback. He sat behind a veteran for a couple years and then had their opportunity. Now these guys are being thrown in the fire, in a lot of cases called bust, maybe before they really are bust. Have no idea if Zach Wilson's going to be a bust or not. We don't want him playing, if you're a New Orleans Saints fan, because you want Tyler Shuck healthy. But again, we'll see again how that plays out. Maybe a good deal for his career going forward. And under the radar signing this week was Terrell Burgess, safety, a guy that played in Staley's system. Again, with all the losses we're seeing with the leadership in that locker room, with Jordan possibly going, with Demario Davis gone, you probably need to bring in some veteran leadership, and I think this is a guy that can be brought in, that's brought back to be able to help that leadership, as well as be a guy that can help you at the safety position as a backup if you need him.
Yeah, and he's a veteran, a savvy veteran, a guy that gets the most out of his talents. And he's always ready, and he's contributed whenever he stepped on the field, be it special teams or as a safety position. And Terrell Burgess, I think, is well respected throughout the locker room, and I think that's a real big addition. Not only is what he can bring to the table, but as you mentioned, a locker room presence, I think, is valuable.
And I think the biggest part of that locker room presence was after Quincy Riley got his first career interception, Riley not wanting to talk to the media, then Burgess saying, "Hey, man, step up. You need to talk to the media. This is a big moment. They want to talk to you about that." And you need that leadership. You need that accountability. You need somebody who you know will keep you in line in a good way, but also can be productive on the field so the injuries occur. I know they have Justin Blackman coming back. They have obviously Justin Reed, and Julian Blackman coming back. But Justin Reed, really good. Julian Blackman coming off an injury. You need someone who can also be a good safety valve in case injuries do occur, and Jonas Sanker needs some backup as well.
With those two safeties coming back and being veterans, in your opinion, does Sanker get tried at the start position now?
I think it would be that case. Sanker has shown versatility, being able to play multiple spots in the defensive backfield, and you want to get all your playmakers out there at the same time. So if you can get Justin Reed, Julian Blackman, and Jonas Sanker out there, I love Jared. So three J's on the field at the same time, I think definitely would behoove the Saints to try that at minimum.
Right. Your opinion?
Sanker too. Yeah, he's a Virginia guy. He's very, very intelligent. Really showing well as a rookie last year, and I think he made tremendous strides. And I think it's a position, a safety and a nickel position, is they're going to address in the draft. So, but right now, they would be good. Sanker would be good at nickel, but you need some depth there, and I think they're going to address that in the offseason.
Jared, obviously, again, it's been well documented, the signings of the New Orleans Saints so far. A-Chain, Edwards, Wright, the punter, Fant, Ellis coming back, Ty Chandler last week, the re-sign of Dylan Radins, also again, Ridgeway. Your thoughts on what the Saints have done so far?
I think what the Saints have done is they found a way to put themselves in a position to maybe just draft the best player available. We knew what the immediate needs were: offensive line and getting someone who could be a competent backup running back, or at least someone who could be a good RB2 at minimum to Alvin Kamara, because Kamara's been injured the last couple of years. And that's also something that's up in the air right now about what may happen with AK-41. But you got a guy like Travis A-Chain going in there, being able to be a stalwart at running back who has been productive minus 1 year of injury. You also get David Edwards in there to be the guard opposite of Cesar Ruiz. I think that definitely helps you out with what's been the biggest issue on the offensive line, is finding that opposite guard. Now, the second biggest issue is injury, but some things you can't help naturally. So you hope Eric McCoy and Cesar Ruiz are able to have bounce back years, and that front five would definitely be able to keep Tyler Shuck upright and have the run game finally have some production. Then you look at the defensive side, and you go and you get a guy like Wade and LSU to replace Demario Davis. He's a pass rusher as well, but he also has back 3 straight 100 tackle seasons. That's what you really want for somebody to go in there to be able to replace Demario Davis, who has learned under Demario Davis and can continue that linebacker tradition. I think they've made some very key additions to this team, and even though they do need to adjust the defensive backfield, as Rene said, I do think that there is an ability to go in there and maybe just get the best guy that's available at that 8th overall pick.
Noah Fant, he was targeted 38 times last year, 35 catches, pretty good. Dave Edwards, as he's alluded to. almost 600 reps last year, you know, and he only allowed 3 sacks and he had 3 penalties. He graded out like 73, 74% from Pro Football Focus. Caden Ellis, 300-yard, 100 tackle performances. And he graded out like 84% as a pass rusher. So they bring him here, and they're going to incentive his salary on what he produces on the field in sacks. He's going to bring so much to the field. He graded out very well as a pass rusher. And Ryan Wright, 49. He averaged 49 yards a boot, 44.5 in net return. I think he's really going to be, you know, a great asset there. And he was the 7th best punter in the NFL last year. And you haven't touched on him, but Jalen Polk. People haven't really seen the real Jalen Polk as a senior at Washington. 69 catches, almost 1,200 yards, and 9 touchdowns. He was a 2nd-round pick of the Patriots, 37th overall. 6'1", 6'2", about 205. So he can be a physical guy. He blocks well. You just haven't seen the real Jalen Polk. He could be the 3rd wheel in that wide receiving core.
Let's stay with that for a moment, because that's one of the questions right now. Juwan Jennings is out there, about $22 million a year. You have some other veterans, again, that may not be, again, looking for as much money. That might be, again, on 1-year deals. Diggs is one. There's a few others out there as well. Jared, do they address the wide receiver position in the draft? Do they do it high? And when I say high, I mean first round. I think when you look at where they are right now, the way the draft is falling and what's going on in free agency, I think everybody thought that this was going to be a draft where they're going to surround Tyler Shuck. But when you look at that 8th overall pick now, to me, only Cornell Tate is worth a top 10 pick. Some people may have other opinions on the wide receivers, but it looks to me, again, when you look at the Saints cloud, it'll be defensive players that be in that cloud now that they may be choosing from at 8.
It definitely may be that indeed, and me and Rene talked about it pre-show about maybe you get Jacob Downs out of Ohio State, but when you look at it, Caleb Downs, sorry, but whenever you look at what they have already in the wide receivers room. You already talked about Jalen Polk being a guy who can go in there and be a very different type of receiver, a good playmaker. You have Chris Olave coming off of the best season of his career, didn't miss any game except for the last game of the season due to blood clots. Good thing he's healthy now, but that's the only thing that stopped him. No concussions. He's been able to play very well. And then you have Devon Vele. So those are 3 very different wideouts who can go out there, contribute, and then take the pressure off of Olave as well, or take advantage of the pressure on Olave to get you some more completions. When you look at the tight ends, Noah Fenton and Juwan Johnson, you'll be able to have the weapons around there, and you have another running back to be able to go in the backfield and be consistent, because we've seen the running back room have so many issues as well. So I think offense may not be the focus if a guy like a Jeremiah Love isn't there at 8th overall. If you don't have a surefire home run hit at 8th overall for the offensive side, I think defense naturally becomes the answer.
And Rene, you do a deep dive in the draft all the time. I mean, it could be Bailey, it could be Bain, it could be Monsieur Delane from LSU, who again had that blazing speed. I mean, again, to get a guy that could shut down one side of the field for you like Lattimore did, and you know, people should realize that Kool-Aid McKenzie played half of his time in Alabama at the right cornerback position, so it's not like he can't play that position. I mean, it looks like, again, this could be a first round where it's defense unless they trade back.
I did my mock draft in December. I know I talked about it on your show, E. I really think Caleb Downs is the best guy in the draft. And if he falls to the Saints at number 8, he could play any safety position and nickel. He led Alabama as a true freshman in tackles. He would serve so many, you know, you'd put him back there with Justin Reed and Blackman, and boy, I tell you what, he would be a tremendous addition. He could be a Troy Polamalu or Ed Reed type of safety, impact on the team. And as far as a wide receiver that I like a lot, and he's had a little bit of a history problem, but he's got a history with Tyler Shuck at Louisville, is Chris Bell. He's built like a linebacker, 6'2", 220, runs a 4.45 40. He would probably be available in the 2nd round. Will Casey Concepcion fall that far, or Jeremy Bernard, or one of those kind of guys? But I think if Caleb Downs was available at pick number 8, I would find it very difficult to pass him up. And you can get a really good receiver or cornerback. Chandler Rivers from Duke, a cornerback. He may be available in the 3rd round, and he's really, really good. So you got some quality, top-heavy draft. I think there's a lot of options for the Saints as a wide receiver. and a cornerback option.
Here's the big question for this team going forward. 2 longtime Saints, 2 leaders in the locker room. Cam Jordan, do they bring him back? What happens with Alvin Kamara? Is he on this team this year? Or again, do they move off of Alvin Kamara? Jared, I'll take you first.
I think we may be seeing the end of both. Alvin Kamara's already had some contractual restructures. We haven't seen Cam Jordan get signed back yet, and they bring back another defensive end just last week. And so I think what we're looking at is the end of the era where we had those guys, the Cam Jordans. DeMario Davis has already gone to the New York Jets, and then, of course, Alvin Kamara. That being an issue of health as well, because he has been injured back-to-back years for the back end of the seasons. And so you need fresh legs in the running back room as well. That is why I'm a little high still on Jeremiah Love, despite the A-chain signing, is because you do have a running back room where Devin Neal was there, but starts and ends his rookie year injured. Kendrick Miller's been injured every year he's been in the NFL, and Alvin Kamara back-to-back seasons being injured. So you need fresh legs in there, and I don't think you want to put all the pressure on Travis Etienne to be able to take that load off. But I do think when you look at the defensive front of it, they do believe in Chase Young staying healthy and being able to go out there and to create pressure and to do his thing, and Carl Granderson as well, being very versatile in the Brandon Staley scheme, showing his stat lines as well and what he's been able to do, taking advantage of not just rushing the passer, but setting the edge and also being able to drop back in coverage a couple of times as well. So they may believe they have what they need on the edges, and they certainly know they have enough pass rushers now by signing Kate Nellis also.
Yeah.
You know, it's a shame to say this, and it's an old adage. It's better to get rid of somebody a year early than a year late. And Alvin Kamara has been great, and Cam Jordan has been great. And Alvin Kamara, I think, has fallen back, as Jared has alluded to. And you do have Devin Neal. Has not got a good look at him because he was injured. Kendrick Miller, this will be, I think, my last opportunity. But I think they will add somebody in the draft. But Cam Jordan, I think, may be looking for something, and he may not be getting the offers that he's expected, that he thought he would get. That might be the only reason he would return. He might be looking for a little bit more than what the Saints are offering. But if he doesn't get that offer, I could see him coming back here. I think it's a 50-50 chance that he would come back. It's a shame, much like Ricky Jackson, he wouldn't end his career here. But Alvin Kamara right now, I say it's better chance he will not return. Cam Jordan is 50-50.
Final question on the Saints, $13.4 million to spend right now. That's before, again, an Olave contract, which again would give them more money because obviously, again, he would be playing on that $15 million fifth-year option. Jared, what are the Saints looking at now in terms of free agency? Will they hold off until after the draft and maybe go and try to strike then? Still got a lot of money to spend. What positions do they need to upgrade?
I thought they would hold off on the draft, and then all of a sudden Zach Wilson gets signed. So you may never know what Mickey Loomis and company may want to do. I do think now they will hold off, though. I think they'll wait. They're going to hit the ground running when it comes to scouting, making sure they get to all the proper pro days and talking to the scouts and seeing who could really be on their radar once that top 8 pick comes around. But if you look at anybody, it would have to be going to someone maybe in the defensive backfield. That's the one area right now that you need to shore up and make sure you have depth there, because that has been an area of issue when it comes to injury, and maybe as well adding another interior offensive lineman, simply because you've seen the injuries to Eric McCoy and Cesar Ruiz and the lack of consistency and production as well with the interior on that right side and center as well.
Rene, same question.
I think if they had to address it, I think they would do it after the draft, post-draft. And I think if there's a position you could kind of want to fill a hole, a veteran offensive lineman, 31, 32, 33 years old, has still got a little tread left on the tires, and plug him in as a veteran depth. If you need somebody who can start at guard or tackle or whatever it may be. And there's guys out there, and there will be guys out there that after the draft, post-draft, a veteran that you could bring in, not only would he help with experience, but boy, it'd be a great locker room addition. And as you mentioned, Jared mentioned about the secondary, there's always a need and a great idea to kind of add somebody back there.
Rene Nadeau, CrestCitySports.com, Jared Paul Joseph, WGNO-TV Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. You're watching Inside New Orleans Sports. We'll hear from our underwriters. We'll be right back. We'll start off with LSU women, again, heading to the Sweet 16. Stay tuned.
Located at 3701 Iberville Street in Mid-City is Katie's Restaurant and Bar. Open 7 days a week, Katie's offers daily specials for lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Serving New Orleans cuisine such as fried shrimp platters, grilled redfish, and a fully stocked bar. And don't forget about our expanded event seating and local entertainment. Featured on the Best of Food Network's Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, Katie's Restaurant and Bar.
Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration has been family-owned and operated since 1989. Burkhart has energy-efficient solutions and offers brands such as Mitsubishi ductless AC units and Amana, the only manufacturer with a lifetime unit replacement warranty. Burkhart's offers maintenance bundle packages that include servicing your AC, generator, and tankless water heater. For more information on the services Burkhart's provides, visit acpromise.com. Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration, providing comfort for life.
Here we go. Welcome back to Inside New Orleans Sports. Rene, Nadeau, Jared Paul Joseph, our guest tonight. All right, guys, there's only one basketball team alive in college right now. Again, the men are gone. McNeese getting eliminated from the tournament. And, of course, Southern got eliminated from the tournament as well, the Southern women. It is the LSU Tigers, Kim Mulkey's group, again, dominating last weekend in the first round and second round up at LSU. 116-58 over Jacksonville. And then, of course, 101-47 over Texas Tech. Texas Tech was 26-7, and they crushed them. They've got Duke now again in Sacramento. That is a game on Friday night. That's a 9 p.m. game. LSU's the second seed. Duke's the third seed in that regional. Of course, the winner will play the winner of UCLA and Minnesota. UCLA for the first seed, Minnesota the fourth seed. So chalk out in that particular that particular regional. Now, the question is, how far can this team go? They looked incredible this past weekend. Now, again, a lot of emotion and energy. Flau'jae Johnson's last time in the PMAC, but they were dominant again this past weekend in the first second round of the regional. How far can this team go, in your opinion?
Well, LSU beat Duke when they played.
Yes.
And it's going to depend on if this game draws a lot of emotion and physical well-being out of the LSU team. Mm-hmm. If this is a tough challenge for LSU Duke, if they beat Duke, if LSU beats Duke, but it's been a tough game, they may not have much left in the tank for UCLA. LSU has to eliminate the thought process that we beat Duke already, this is just another game, and not be looking too far ahead for UCLA. Can LSU beat UCLA? Yes, they can beat them, because I think they match it very, very well. Was the game against Texas Tech aberration? I mean, did Texas Tech get blown away by the environment, or was LSU that good? Right. Kind of a combination of both. Mm-hmm. I think LSU just played so well. They hit on all cylinders. I mean, they hit shots, they break breakaways and everything else. So it depends on how close that Duke game is. If LSU wins the Duke game 10, 15, 18 points, something like that, and has a comfortable lead and can rest a couple of players and not take Flau'jae Johnson, a couple of players, take them on, give them a blow, I think it'll have a bearing on how they perform against UCLA.
LSU beat Duke 93-77 on December the 4th in Durham. So again, as Rene said, they've already beat them once. What's your thoughts, Sharon?
I think LSU can get as far as getting to the championship game if they play the way we saw them playing in these first two rounds.
Yes.
And the biggest thing is, if you go back to the opening round game against Jacksonville, when they went to halftime, Kim Mulkey was asked during the broadcast, what did she think? She said, we got to play better defense. We did not play the defense we needed to play against Jacksonville if we want to be a great defensive team. 36 first half points, that's not going to get it done. And after that, they were on a tear against Jacksonville in the second half, and they dominated Texas Tech as well. That third quarter against the Red Raiders, they outscored them 33-7. And I think, as Rene said, it's a combination of a multitude of things. Flau'jae clicking on all cylinders because it is her final weekend as a Tiger in Baton Rouge. The environment of home court advantage going along with that. And above all else, clicking on all cylinders, not just offensively, but defensively. And I think that is what will carry this team. If they are able to play that style of defense, where turnovers turn into immediate transition points, that will definitely give them a chance to blow out teams, find a way to beat Duke handedly once again, and get that rest to be able for a 2 p.m. tip-off against UCLA, likely in the Elite Eight. And I think that would get them to the Final Four. Their defense will carry them, and the consistency of seeing Flau'jae be out there, be a 20-point scorer, will also be key as well. Michaela Williams stepping up also, and Kim knowing her rotation. Because she also said in the first half against Jacksonville, she played some players out of position. So you experiment a little bit when you can, but when you know who you have, let Flau'jae go out there and dominate. Let Michaela Williams do her thing as well. And we also know they have a great player, Malaysia Fulwiley, coming off the bench. So three-headed monster in the backcourt, and then Jada Edwards and company as well.
Most observers say, again, UCLA is the best team in that regional. What do you say?
I say it's LSU. If LSU plays like this, that's the best team in the regional, and it's a team that can compete against the UConns, and it can finally maybe get the monkey off their backs against South Carolina. Right. If you play with that style, that tenacity, that defensive effort, you will naturally get more offensive opportunities, get easy transition points, and then, of course, give yourself the opportunity to beat some of these teams, hold them down defensively, and we will remember defense failed them in that rematch against Texas. Defense failed them in that rematch against South Carolina. Those are 2 games that they easily could have won. 3 if you talk about the regular season matchup against South Carolina as well. Just getting those clutch moments on the defensive end and making sure you rise to the moment. Those are the intangibles that they have to show that they've finally gotten, but being able to just go out there and have effort. Defense comes down to effort and execution, effort above all else. If they keep that up, I think that will definitely carry them.
Same question.
Kim Mulkey's resume with championships, when it comes down to it, I mean, she's not playing on the court, but she knows the moves to make, the buttons to push, and I think she's got enough talent. And I agree with Jared. I think LSU has as much or more talent than anybody left. And if they play up to their potential, and Kim Mulkey with her experience as a coach, I think, yes, they have a chance to beat UCLA, move into the Final Four.
Staying with basketball at LSU, again, on really kind of on different tack. They finished 15-16 overall, 3-16 last in the SEC. There's been no word on McMahon, but if things are percolating right now in Baton Rouge with Heath Shore being hired as the associate AD at LSU, a former McNeese AD who hired Will Wade at McNeese. LSU system president now is Dr. Wade Roos, who was the president of McNeese. Governor Landry seems to be again in favor of Will Wade coming back. Will Wade's buyout will descend from $5 million to $3 million on April the 1st. The transfer portal opens up on April the 7th. Most people that are observers out in Baton Rouge believe that Will Wade is coming back to LSU. What say you, Jared?
I say yes. I say, even though Will Wade didn't want to really talk about it after one of the press conferences, I think it's going to happen. There's no way you keep making moves like this for the alignment. That was the key word Brian Kelly talked about when he got hired, alignment. So the alignment is there for Will Wade to return to Baton Rouge. We also know that Governor Landry wants and gets what he wants at this point, and he may indeed want Will Wade to come back. We knew about the drama that happened with that and Scott Woodward not wanting to bring him back. And above all else, people need to remember, LSU fans do not care about being the villain. They want to win at all costs in everything. And football, basketball, women's basketball, baseball, they want championships. They want victories. The last time that this program was galvanized and had a fan base behind it was Will Wade. And even though their longest run was in the Sweet 16, he may have been ahead of his time with those strong golfers, but I guarantee you he won't have an issue now when players want to play for him, and he's a galvanizing personality that LSU loves.
Well, again, and part of that deal is, again, from what it was been reported, $15 million in NIL money to be pledged if Will Wade comes back to LSU. Your thoughts?
I am still concerned a little bit about the buyout and how much money, again, you go back to the coffers and ask these people, these contributors, we need another, X amount of $1 million to do this. And it may come about, but it's not going to be an easy task. And still, I know Will Wade hasn't said much, but where he is a basketball school.
Right.
And
he is third fiddle to Duke in North Carolina.
I understand that, but if you talk to Will Wade, he thinks he can be top of the heap. And right now, don't think that North Carolina State people are not trying to keep him too, and convincing him that this is a basketball school. You will not be third or fourth behind LSU football, behind maybe the baseball, behind the gymnastics. And everything. I'm saying,
true.
Behind the women's basketball. So I'm saying is that North Carolina State people are telling him that, and they're planting a seed of doubt in his mind. He's been here. Will Wade and his wife loved Baton Rouge, but I don't think it's going to be an easy sell. It may get done, but it's gonna be a little bit of a process before it really gets. I don't think it's a sure thing by any stretch of imagination.
To your point, $7.5 million to buy out McMahon, another $3 million to buy out his staff, $15 million that you're gonna pledge to NIL, $3 million to buy out Wade, and then whatever Wade's contract's gonna be. Again, whoever that booster is or boosters, again, they will be running up a significant amount of money to bring Will Wade back to LSU. The Kiffin era started this week, again, with the opening of spring practice up at LSU. I got to tell you right now, I've never been a Lane Kiffin fan, But I am becoming, again, a Lane Kiffin fan on the way he handles his press conferences. Honest, open, answers every question, measured on what he has to say. Now, again, he's never gotten beat yet as an LSU coach and have to face the media. But again, you're getting good information from him and honest information from him as the LSU head coach. Rene, your thoughts on spring practice and the beginning of the Lane Kiffin era?
Well, it's still kind of early, but I feel real good about the hires he's made, especially the positions at offensive line with James Craig. And I mean, I just think that he's done a great job addressing the experience at offensive line coaching is almost double what they had last year. Plus, you got the guys who coming in are going to have NFL experience as well. He's got players. He brought in 9 wide receivers, which he's bringing in people who are not afraid of competition, because, you know, I'm sure he asked them, if you're afraid of competition, this is not the place to be. He got Husson Longstreet coming in. It was, you know, potential starter at USC. Landon Clark was solid at Elon. So he brought in guys who want to compete. And he's done an unbelievable job recruiting because he's a social media darling. I mean, he's, well, you know, with all the text and everything else and social media. And he's so much different from Brian Kelly because Brian Kelly was a closer, but he let his assistant coaches do most, if not all, the recruiting. And I just think that he jumps in with both feet. I mean, he flew, you know, to go seal a deal with Jordan Seaton and stuff. So he's much more active than Brian Kelly ever was, and he's got more of a feel for things, the lay of the land now in college football. He really does. But he's got talent. He's an F to win. But the offensive line has tremendous depth. It's challenging. A wide receiver position, defensive line. So he brought in guys who want to play, want to compete. And guys, you know, it's not for the faint of heart. If you want to play at LSU, you're going to have to beat some competition.
Yeah, same.
I think LSU has the right coach for the turnover that they just had.
Yes.
Because again, as Rene said, Lane Kiffin knows the current era of college football. Right. He knows how to get immediate production as well out of an offense. He does. And they've had to do it year after year during his time at Ole Miss. And his first year was the COVID season. They still had a very dominant offense. And so taking experiences and knowing how to get all the pieces to mesh and meld and weld together during chaos of all time things, I think that's the biggest advantage Lane Kiffin has with so many new faces, so many new pieces. And as Rene said, the staff, they have a very deep staff on the Bayou Bengals football roster right now. And you have an offensive coordinator who was drawing NFL interest in Charlie Weiss Jr. You have a safeties coach who was drawing interest in the NFL as well. You just hired T. Smith, who was a championship winner over at Tennessee, but also was the quarterbacks coach when Lamar Jackson won his regular season MVPs. So he comes in as a senior analyst because you have so much depth on your roster and your staff right now. I think with what they have done is they fully invested into what Lane Kiffin is trying to do. They have depth across the board in the key areas. You also love that when he talked about in the press conference about what he's seen in day one, he went to the defensive line and said, guys, we ain't defending my offense right. We're not doing this right. When you go against tempo, you have to go fast. You have to be decisive. You have to, you know, have the mental and the physical game on all cues. And so for an offensive guru to go up to the defense and say, on day one, we're not doing this right, that's also a good sign because, you know, he's not just worried about his specialty. Even though he knows he can leave that defense in the hands of Blake Baker, he knows what it takes to defend his team, his offense. Even though he saw that same defense clamp down his offense better than anybody else last year, he knows how to get that done. And he has been saying the right things, and I'm sure he will as time goes on. I'm just eager to see them do the right things in the fall and get those wins and get things going.
Such a huge turnover on the roster again, with again so many guys coming in the transfer portal. Tulane did not have that many that turnover of the roster again that we saw at LSU, but again they did lose a lot of their key players to the transfer portal. The Will Hall era has begun with spring practice. They're taking a little break for spring, as opposed to what LSU did. They waited until spring break was over, and they're going to go through the month of April. In the first couple practices, Caden Samanza looked like, again, he was the guy. Obviously, again, Chris Gremion has been injured, so you really don't get a real good take on him. Rene, talk about the Tulane Green Wave and the expectations there this year in the first year under Will Hall.
You know, I was out at practice last week, and all the players to a man say how much they like Will Hall, and not against John Summerall, but they say he's running more of a wide open, spread attack. Jamari McClure is a running back. He's coming back from last year, and I think he'll really be good. He's also running Will Hall is running a offense where they call it a star position, a running back, slot guy. Maurice Turner and Jalen Lucas are manning that position. Maurice Turner looked outstanding, who had transferred from Louisville. He had 160 yards, Maurice Turner did, as a freshman at Louisville against Cincinnati in the bowl game. So he's potential of a bust out. He looked really, really good in the scrimmage last week. Samanza is the guy who I think, and I thought before Jake Retzlaff came last year that Samanza would be the starter. He's also made some adjustments on the offensive line. He brought in the guy from Mikow from Boston College. He moved Reese Baker from right tackle, a starter, to right guard. Mikow is the starting right tackle, and John Bach is a center, starting a center. He's a transfer last year. So he's made some little adjustments, but all the players like the up-tempo offense. The defensive players even said how much they noticed the offense is spread out and up-tempo, moving fast, a lot of taking shots deep and everything else like that. So Will Hall has a great offensive mind. He was defensive coordinator, and he always has been. So I think he's going to instill that, and I can look for the Tulane offense to really put up, a lot of big plays next year. We'll see if it, how it turns out.
I definitely think the wide receivers will be a good add-on for the Ed-the-Car products going to the collegiate level with Jalen Lucas, of course having Dustin Hill in there, but having two guys like that being added to this team were very key. You need to get some wide receiver production, not having to rely on a quarterback to just be a scrambler or a runner. Additionally, I think Caden Zamons is going to have the natural early edge. This is his second year at Tulane, second year in a quarterback battle uptown. He's going to have the natural edge, especially as Zion Chris Grimion tries to get himself right, tries to get healthy. He's limited. He's a lot more of a dual threat, a runner, than he is just a passer. And so that will give Zamons the edge early on. And as Rene said, you saw some of that explosiveness already happening whenever it came to the first scrimmage, getting a 70-yard touchdown on the first play of scrimmage, and then also having another 70-yarder later in on the busted coverage. But you see that already taking shape. It could be just, a little bit of a body blow. The defense can maybe come back in the next scrimmage and shore up things, but you'd like to see that early on from the offense being able to show, hey, we're going to be explosive now.
Right.
Oliver Mitchell, too, another Carr receiver.
There you go.
So he brought a lot
you can recruit Carr. You're doing okay. Whether you're getting them from a university where they went and they want to come back home or not, you get Carr players, you're doing all right. All right, guys, same kind of situation with basketball at Tulane that it is with LSU. 18-15, 8-10, ninth place finish in the American. Ron Hunter's 107 and 103, no NCAA appearances. He has 2 years left on his deal. Some say it's around $2 million. Some say he's coming back simply because Tulane cannot afford to be able to buy him and his staff out. The question is, should he get another year?
Yes, and I think this year, for all intents and purposes, should be a mulligan. We have not, I think as a whole, anybody properly measured the emotional trauma and impact the loss of Greg Glenn III has had on this team. He was a significant piece on the team, a significant player in the community as well, and someone who had a very close bond with head coach Ron Hunter. And to just get through the grind of a season right after that happens is a credit to the entire team, not just Ron Hunter as well. But you saw how emotional he was during their home finale during the regular season. You know that they fought tooth and nail to get to the highest of heights they could potential-wise, and they had some great games. They had some bad stretches as well. But I think just navigating this season just needed to just get through it. Just do the best you could to get through it. And I think that Ron Hunter should come back and get that mulligan and try once again to get a team going and not have that emotional turmoil be, surrounding them as well.
Rene?
I think you should come back, and Greg Glenn with the drowning. That was devastating personally and otherwise on the team. And, a lot of people at this time last year were kind of writing off Jay Ullman in baseball lately.
Right.
And look what he's turned things around. I mean, you got to get the right situation. So I think Ron Hunter can be a good coach. It looks like he may be stuck in mud, but there's surrounding situations. He's had some guys that had to step up that I don't think he thought could play as well as they did this year. And I think get a transfer or two here that would really change things a little bit, and that's always possible. Right. So I think he's a player or two away from maybe really taking the next step.
Guys, what's interesting is it's kind of the same thing that happened in LSU with Brian Kelly. Ron Hunter was slow to get involved in NIL. Tulane has to make the commitment like they've made in football to basketball in terms of NIL. And then look, much like football, you're going to get rated every single year. Roden Bumbraw is probably going to end up with another team, again, getting more NIL money. So it's going to be hard to hold on to your players. So again, it's going to be interesting to see, again, if he has the energy and the want to come back and to be able to deal with, again, the NIL era when it comes to basketball.
You saw Sion James leave, going to a Duke. You saw, of course, another player going from LCA, going to Tulane. Cam Williams, he goes to another blue blood school as well. You have to be able to manage the turnover of it, but additionally, you need to find a way to invest into the sport, like you said, the same way that football gets the investment. And obviously, football has earned the investment when you go to so many consecutive conference championship games, but you still need to find a way to make sure that basketball has the tools that it needs to be able to be successful as well. Jay Ullman's been able to dominate also, 1 inning or so, one play away from being able to three-peat as American Conference champions, but that the product he's put out there has become something that they want to invest in. Yes. And so if you invest in it, it'll give back to you, and I think that's what they really need to do for the men's basketball program.
Which they've always really invested in baseball. Baseball and football, right?
And I tell you what, I did a story in CrescentCitySports.com on basketball players around the state in all levels, Division FCS, Division II, and everything else. And Rowan Brumbaugh was the most valuable player. I mean, the impact he had, 19 points a game, the impact he had on Tulane, he was the most valuable player in the state of Louisiana in all levels of basketball. I think he's that important, and it would be vitally important if they can keep him, because he would be a big part moving forward.
Yeah, well, he was the highest paid player on the team this past year. Again, it'll be interesting to see again what type of offer he gets. But I'll ask you both, because again, we different eras, right? When we were coming up, basketball in Louisiana was big. Dale Brown, we could talk about what went on at Tulane. Again, UNO with all three again were contenders. High school basketball in New Orleans and the state, we're not putting out the players we used to put out. Is that why? Is it because more of these bigger players are going to play football now and maybe not playing basketball?
No, I tell you one thing, they are going to an IMG and other big schools.
Right.
I mean, the Chris Cenac kid, who's right now from Houston, he's at Newman. He took off and went somewhere else.
Right.
And so, I mean, you've seen a lot of kids are leaving New Orleans to go to play at a bigger school and to get
once they leave Louisiana, it's hard for them to come back.
Yeah, and get recognition. Well, I mean, they're getting more recognition. They playing against better competition.
Yes.
When you go to an IMG or a bigger school, you're looking at just basketball only, and a lot that's happened to a lot of kids, a few kids I should say, but New Orleans area has not produced the kids that it was some time back.
Right.
You also see even in football a little bit, the Zyron Forrestal, who was a Jesuit, he leaves to one of those bigger schools as well. He became a 5-star whenever he left to go to IMG Academy. Yes. So even wanting even more exposure, despite the fact that you already are getting some of that out in Louisiana. I think we're getting a little bit of a trend back to it, though.
Okay.
You do see John Curtis has talent all over the place, both in the girls and the boys basketball teams who both just won state championships. We know Edna Carr, they went on a Cinderella run as well. They have talent. St. Augustine, they do it as well. Maybe I'm just rattling off Catholic League schools, but I do see talent on the court when it comes to Louisiana basketball.
Well, you cover it.
Right, exactly. And even the Country Days, the Newmans, we saw Slidell being a couple of plays short of doing it as well. I think, and we also have to keep in mind, Michaela Williams, that was the basketball player who went, we talking about girls, but she was an in-state product. And so you see some of
But it's hard to turn Kim Mulkey down, right?
It is very hard. It's very hard. Jenna Rishaw, another player who was in-state as well. You see the girls basketball programs going into the women's teams as well, and that gives them the opportunity to be able to shine in-state. I think what they need to see is the flagship school of LSU and also the production of it at other universities as well, seeing them get back on track as well. Will Wade really helped out McNeese and the product of Louisiana men's basketball while he was over there for the Cowboys. He did a lot whenever he was at LSU, making that a better basketball state also. And I think if you can bring some of that traction back as well to the collegiate level, that'll definitely help with the production and the creation of basketball players wanting to stay in-state also.
Yeah. And I tell you what, Eric, you got, going back a ways, Donald Royal from Notre Dame, Rick Roby, went to Kentucky, Eugene Edgerton, St. Augustine, went to Arizona. A lot of kids, they want to play at a big school, it's not their job maybe to turn a Tulane or LSU around into a Power Four.
True.
They have a chance to go to a Kentucky, Arizona, or a UConn or whatever it may be, Duke. They're gone.
I would agree. And also, again, I think there's something to say for a head coach in basketball that has charisma. Okay, you saw it with Dale Brown, you saw it with John Brady, you saw it with Will Wade. Maybe, again, that is one of the keys here in Louisiana to keep some of these kids here. We'll shift to the Pelicans now. 25-48. They're 11th in the West. They were eliminated from any playoffs or play-in. That was kind of fait accompli. We knew that was going to happen. They lost to the Knicks last night, 121-116. Borrego is 23-38 since he took over for Willie Green. The first question I have for both of you is, has Borrego done enough to be the permanent head coach in your opinion?
I'd say yes. I think he has done enough to be the permanent head coach, because we've seen what the product is finally looking like when he has all the tools available to him. Ever since we've seen DeJounte Murray come back, this team to look totally different. And when you add in the depth that he has now, having DeJounte Murray, Jeremiah Fears, Derek Queen, Zion Williamson, Herb Jones, rattling off just all the quality players they have now. I mean, Zion playing 35 straight games, and then after he had that absence, I mean, that was his only absence in like the last 42 outings as well. He had been very good and very productive, and I think James Borrego was finally getting the offensive output and also the defensive tenacity simultaneously. And I think that if he stays, that it would behoove the Pelicans to do so. And if you don't, you need to get somebody in there who would be an immediate impact, who would have the buy-in from the team, because I do believe that the Pelicans are fully bought into James Borrego and what he's able to bring out of them.
Rene, same question. Has he done enough in your opinion?
Yeah, I think he has. And you talk to the players, and he's pushed the right buttons. He's changed the lineup a little bit. He had Zion coming off the bench in some starting position. I think he's done a really good job, and Jeremiah Fears, you've seen a big jump in his ability.
Last night was his best game as a pro.
You know, and I tell you what, we were talking about locker room presence, and this is a guy that everybody knows. He hasn't played a lot, but when he stepped on the court, he's done a good job. DeAndre Jordan, behind the curtains, has been an invaluable addition to this team, because he'll grab a Misi or something, and like you said about telling the guy to stand up when you're talking to the media, he's a coach among the players. And so they have a lot of good parts to this. DeJounte Murray, had he been available earlier, you don't know what would have happened.
Right.
You know, but I'm saying is that they are maybe a piece or so away. They do need a big man. They certainly need a big guy to step in, and that's going to be the biggest elephant in the room in the offseason.
Guys, I will say this. First of all, I said this on the radio show. DeAndre Jordan, they've been trying to import leadership forever on that team. The best $3.5 million they've ever spent.
Yep. Yes.
There's no doubt about it, okay,
Absolutely.
what he's done. And again, hopefully they can keep him on as kind of a player-type coach going forward. My concern is the Pelicans are healthy, and they've been healthy. They can have full complement of players, but they still have issues closing out playoff teams. What's missing?
Well, I think they're fully healthy now,
right?
And that's still a new thing, and this team had to finally get over certain humps. They had to remember how to win after having so many long losing streaks. They had to remember how to weather storms. Then they had to learn to get over some of those third quarter and first quarter hurdles whenever teams would just storm on them. I couldn't tell you how many times I would just go with highlights of one player going off on a three-point tangent against them during those losing streaks. But then now you see a team who they're learning to be the aggressor, to be to fight first and even to fight back quicker. That was one thing we didn't really see with Willie Green. And not to throw him entirely under the bus with that, but how many times did Willie Green talk about the need to fight, need to have more poise? This team is fighting now. This team has the poise. But I think with such a young team as well, a team that is fighting for its playoff life at the time, going against quality teams back to back to back to back, that can wear on you a little bit, but also they're learning how to compete at that level. That's one of the things that this young team is still learning, is how to close out games, how to be able to go in there and attack opponents, and being able to close it out and to get those tough victories.
Same question, because again, look, that's the thing that frustrates me. I'm seeing a team that is fully healthy, but yet they can't close out these playoff teams.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Borrego also was tasked with trying to coordinate Derek Queen and Jeremiah Fears and give him some experience.
Right.
He just got DeJounte Murray back. And he was putting Zion, coming him off the bench, starting him. He was still doing a lot of experimentation. And the thing was that, they dug themselves such a deep hole a while back. How important was that to try to win games or give Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen some experience? So he was changing the lineup and things like that. It wasn't until maybe the past 10 to 12 games that he really feels a little more confident in the lineup he has. So I guess if he'd had this opportunity maybe 30, 40 games ago, it'd have been a whole lot different, because again, he put Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen sometimes in situations where they needed the experience, but when both those guys are feeling their way through in the NBA, you're not going to really get much out of them.
Well, obviously, look, Queen looked really good early. He's kind of hit it maybe a plateau a bit, but you've seen Fears explode coming off that bench.
Yeah, you definitely have, and it's all about just accepting the roles and finding your comfort zone as a rookie. Derek Queen has had the struggles, but we have to remember that it takes NBA big men 5 years or so to really learn who they're going to be in the National Basketball Association. Even Nikola Jokic, he came out of nowhere. He was always really good, and then he certainly turned into this unstoppable monster on the court, and you can see the flashes of Derek Queen's ceiling. It's just that he needs to find the consistency and find his way with it to carve out that role. Additionally, when you look at Jeremiah Fears, he's had to be in positions, as Rene said, where he's not really in an ideal situation to succeed as much as it is a situation to get experience. And so taking him and putting him on the bench, that also goes with the mentorship of having a DeJounte Murray back to help him as well. So I think Jeremiah Fears is getting the benefit of both playing in certain spots that help him while also learning from a DeJounte Murray to be more successful as well.
Final word on the rookie. He's got a minute left.
Jeremiah Fears, he looks like he may be finding his long-range shot. If he does, next 2 or 3 years, you're looking at an all-star there. I mean, he can certainly be an all-star the way he's played. And a young man, 18 years old, I'm saying is that he can be extra special.
And your thoughts on Queen?
Derek Queen, he's up and down. He's still got a lot to learn. He's still a young guy. But I think he's in a good situation here. And having a DeAndre Jordan on board and some of the guys around him to help him become an NBA pro, I think is going to be huge.
Great panel tonight. Jared Paul Joseph of WLAE-TV Sports, Rene Nadeau of CrescentCitySports.com. You won't find two more, again, informed individuals in the media, again, in this state than these two guys, again, covering everything. And, of course, again, great panel for us tonight. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
All right, folks, thanks so much for tuning in. There's a QR code on your screen that will take you to the WLAE-TV YouTube channel and also to my website, ericasher.com. I say it every week, we are so blessed to have so many ways for our audience to catch our program. WLAE-TV, WLAE-TV2, also known as Encore, Pelican Sports Television, and of course on our YouTube channel, WLAE-TV YouTube channel. You can also check out my social media platforms. We post the program on our social media platforms each and every week. You can catch me on the radio, 106.7 The Ticket, 4 to 6 weekdays. You can listen live at ericasher.com. 106.7 The Ticket has an app you can download, take the station of the show with you everywhere. iHeartRadio app, TuneIn Radio app, other digital platforms that take the station and the show with you everywhere. Again, make sure you check it out. Again, 106.7 The Ticket, your 24-hour sports station here in New Orleans. I want to thank the underwriters who make our show possible. We appreciate each and every one of our underwriters. One of the reasons why this show has had the longevity it's had over the last 13 years is underwriters who, again, believe in this program. And please continue to support our underwriters. And of course, as always, want to thank the folks here at WLAE-TV who produce our program. Ron Yeager, Jim Dotson, Ali Chacon, the best director on the planet, William Hill. For Jared Paul, for Rene, I'm Eric Asher. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week for another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports. Thanks for watching.
Hey, I'm Keith Spira from NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. My guest this week on Let's Talk is former WDSU reporter Shay O'Connor. What was your favorite time of the year to report stories?
I would say Mardi Gras because I could be myself. It was the one day of the year where I could use my accent. I could just be as crazy as I wanted to be. And no one would judge me.
Well, there you go. Tune in this week to hear all about Shay O'Connor being herself on Let's Talk.
Opportunity Knocks is back with our 3 esteemed coaches and 6 new underestimated families to create a personalized journey that everyone watching can benefit from.
I'm just hopeful that I won't always be struggling.
Are the obstacles that these families are facing too much?
This is an emergency. You're looking at bankruptcy.
Or will their coaches help them open the door?
And we're gonna turn your life around like you have no idea.
When Opportunity Knocks.
Thursdays at 7 p.m.
Sometimes kids are a lot to handle. Check out these quick tips from parents just like us.
One thing I do with my kids, I would let them write the grocery list with me. The reason is why when I go to grocery with them, they got to pick their own fruits and vegetables. So when they come home, I don't have hard time to feed them.
I think the young kids also have their own different emotions, and as a parent, it's very important to have them recognize their emotions, help them redirect young kids to understand what they want instead of shutting down their emotion.
I teach my daughter the importance of being social when she goes to school. I tell her she'll meet new friends, teachers, share color, she'll learn new numbers, and do a lot of different things in order to make her comfortable so she doesn't feel nervous when she goes to school.
I always do with my kids. They gather their clothes night before school day, so in the morning time, they can get out faster.
Yoga, like life, is a process of refining and evolving. Simply slowing down and being aware is a place to begin. Hi, my name is Stacy Milner-Collins. Welcome to Yoga in Practice.
Thursdays at 5 p.m.
Having aired in the U.S. and internationally for over 3 decades, Wailana Yoga helped pioneer the modern-day yoga movement. With her clear and authentic instruction set against spectacular scenic backdrops and uplifting music, Wailana makes yoga easily accessible and enjoyable for people of all backgrounds and experience levels.
Sundays at 6:30 a.m.
We're local and entertaining. You're watching WLAE-TV.